conflicts just generate so much data, an incredible amount, really. And today, we're doing a deep dive into a very specific set of numbers. We're looking at the reported military losses from just one single day, November 5th, 2025. It's a snapshot, but it gives you a really stark look at the constant grind at the front lines.
It really does. And it's a necessary contrast, I think, to those huge cumulative figures we've seen build up over, what, nearly 4 years now?
Exactly. Now, the figures we're digging into today, they come specifically from the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces.
Right. Documenting their claims regarding Russian military losses. And it's absolutely critical, as you listen, to keep that context in mind. These are claims from one side in an ongoing conflict. We're using them here to understand the asserted costs of the war, operationally speaking.
Okay, before we really jump into the details, just a quick reminder. You are watching Robert and Sarah's Warfront Analysis. And make sure you subscribe to the channel for daily updated knowledge just like this. So our mission today is kind of twofold. We're going to zoom right in on the specific actions reported for November 5th. Then we'll pull way back to try and get a handle on the massive cumulative totals, everything reported since February 2022.
And that tension, between the daily drip, drip, drip of losses and the staggering overall numbers, that's really where the strategic weight of this analysis lies, I think.
Okay, let's focus first on that daily snapshot, November 5th, 2025. The human cost, jumps out immediately. According to the source we're looking at, Defense Forces destroyed nearly 1,000 enemy soldiers. That specific figure is plus 900 personnel added to the count in one day.
900. And that loss of personnel, it's paired with a really significant hit to fire support. The source also reports plus 24 artillery systems destroyed just in that 24-hour window. We often talk about tanks, aircraft, but modern warfare, fundamentally, it's often an artillery duel.
24 systems in a single day. That feels high. Why is losing artillery specifically such a key indicator right now?
Well, it really speaks to how effective counter-battery fire might be. Artillery units aren't supposed to sit still. They fire and then they move, or scoot, as they say. Losing 24 suggests maybe the other side's surveillance drones, radar, and their ability to react quickly. It's catching those systems before they can relocate. Or perhaps they were caught massing for a specific attack. Either way, the immediate effect is 24 fewer heavy guns available. That creates real vulnerabilities on the ground right then and there.
So disrupting fire support is one major aspect. The other thing that really struck me, reflecting perhaps more modern trends, is the reported loss in unmanned systems. Plus 396 UAVs operational tactical level lost in 24 hours. That number is just huge, almost 400 drones.
It's an incredible number. And the designation operational tactical level is important here. We're talking about the short to medium range drones. These are literally the eyes for the units on the ground. They're used for immediate targeting, battlefield recon, spotting for the very artillery systems we just discussed. Losing nearly 400, that suggests maybe jamming isn't working or short range air defenses are highly effective, maybe both. It basically means losing your immediate local eyes in the sky across potentially wide sections of the front almost simultaneously.
Yeah, it's not just hardware, it's intelligence, real-time intelligence, being lost. We also see this steady, grinding attrition continuing elsewhere. The report lists plus 3 tanks, plus 3 armored combat vehicles, also plus 2 air defense systems, and quite a few logistics vehicles, plus 70 automotive vehicles and fuel tanks. Even just 3 tanks a day, day after day, it ends up to a brutal story. Okay, let's pivot now. Let's talk about that compounding effect. We're moving from the daily grind, November 5th, to the huge cumulative scale. This covers the whole period, February 24, 2022, right up to November 5, 2025. We're talking 44 months. And the numbers here, they stop feeling like statistics. They feel almost like geological shifts in the landscape of this conflict.
It's a necessary perspective shift, stepping back like this. Let's start with the human cost, cumulatively. According to these claims we're analyzing, the total personnel loss figure is approximately 11,146,570 personnel.
1.1 million. It's almost impossible to really grasp that number. How can we, put that to context for people listening?
Well, one way to think about the strategic strain. That figure, over 1.1 million, it's roughly equivalent to the entire combined active duty land forces of several of NATO's largest European members, before 2022. It represents a colossal demand on manpower. It requires this constant, massive effort in mobilization, training, just replacing losses to maintain any kind of baseline force strength.
And the material costs look just as overwhelming.
Yeah.
Let's talk armor. The sources report 11,329 tanks destroyed and 23,535 armored combat vehicles. So combined, that's nearly 35,000 armored platforms. It suggests a really crippling drain.
It's not just the raw number, though that's huge. It's what it implies about industrial capacity and logistics. I mean,
Yeah.
23,000 armored combat vehicles, that's more than many countries have in their entire inventory. It raises that strategic question, how many of these are combat losses versus, say, mechanical breakdowns, lack of maintenance, maybe abandoned due to lack of trained crews? The sheer volume needed to replace over, well, almost 35,000 armored vehicles points to an industrial scale of wear and tear, not just combat destruction.
But couldn't the argument be made, look, even if they lose 11,000 tanks, maybe they have vast reserves, pulling older models, T-62s, T-55s even, out of deep storage.
And that's where you move from just counting inventory to looking at operational reality. Yes, reserves likely exist on paper, but the bottleneck is the ability to rapidly refurbish those old systems, maybe modernize them somewhat, and critically crew them with adequately trained soldiers. The rate of loss reported here, month after month, suggests a severe structural strain on repair depots, on logistics chains, and especially on the training pipeline for operators. It implies that depletion, the rate things are being lost or breaking down, is outpacing the effective rate of bringing refurbished or new systems and their crews to the front line.
Okay, moving beyond armor, let's look at essential support systems. The attrition seems comprehensive there, too. Artillery systems, the cumulative total reported is 34,273. That's a staggering number of guns. And then the backbone, really the logistics, automotive vehicles and fuel tanks, 66,574.
66,000 trucks and fuel tankers. When you lose that many, you're seriously hampering your ability to move everything. Food, fuel, ammo, spare parts, everything needed at the front. Logistics is often the hidden factor, but these kinds of numbers suggest profound, ongoing supply chain problems. It likely forces reliance on rail, which is less flexible, or other slower, perhaps more vulnerable ways to move things.
We also see numbers for high-value items. 3,918 cruise missiles reported expended or intercepted. That's a huge inventory of expensive long-range weapons. And the naval side, 28 ships or boats and, very notably, 1 submarine.
Those naval losses, especially the submarine, really underscore that this isn't just a land war, is it? It points to an ongoing, likely asymmetric campaign focused on denying sea access, disrupting naval support, probably using things like maritime drones and missile strikes effectively.
Okay, so we've seen the daily intensity and the massive cumulative cost. But here's where the picture gets even broader, I think. Our sources for today didn't only cover the battlefield losses. They also touched on 2 really critical maneuvers happening alongside all this, shaping the diplomatic space and the domestic information environment.
Yeah, this juxtaposition is fascinating. It shows how strategic thinking in other domains continues even under the immense pressure of this kind of attrition warfare. Let's start with that European Commission idea about new members.
Right. This involves looking at maybe a special probationary mechanism for countries wanting to join the EU in the future, an idea with pretty serious implications.
Absolutely. The core of the reported proposal is that it would allow the EU to temporarily limit the rights of new members. This could mean things like voting rights or access to certain funds. It might even include a mechanism to expel them from the bloc altogether. And the stated reason is explicit: to deal with potential deviations from democratic standards after a country has already joined.
So what's really interesting there is how this reflects the EU's own changing priorities, maybe lessons learned. It feels like a defense mechanism for the bloc itself.
Precisely. It signals a potentially significant shift from how accession used to work. The EU seems to be saying implicitly that the rigorous pre-entry checks might not be enough anymore to guarantee long-term democratic health within the club. This mechanism looks primarily aimed at deterring or managing, illiberal backsliding among member states. It reflects experiences with existing internal disputes over rule of law. So yeah, it's a defensive posture, prioritizing the EU's internal democratic consistency, perhaps over just rapid expansion.
Okay, so that's the diplomatic chessboard. At the same time, the information front seems just as active. Our sources mention activity in occupied Donbass, reporting that Russian administrations there are holding some kind of staged event focused on the water supply system.
Yes, and the source material doesn't mince words. It explicitly states this event serves purely propagandistic purposes. The claim is that it's not about genuinely improving the utility infrastructure, but about creating a certain perception.
And we have to be really clear here. We're reporting the source's claim that this is a staged operation. Its goal, according to the source, is to project an image of stability and competent governance, primarily for a domestic audience, perhaps local residents too. Why water supplies specifically? Why is that such a potent focus for this kind of, alleged propaganda?
Because utilities like water, heating, electricity, They are the most basic, the most visible signs of whether an administration is functioning or not. They directly impact daily life. So if residents see authorities visibly doing something about a fundamental need like water, it can potentially build some legitimacy for that administration, regardless of the bigger picture or the actual state of the overall infrastructure. It's an attempt to win hearts and minds, or at least grudging acceptance, by showcasing immediate, tangible results, even if they are, as the source claims, superficial or staged. It's about the perception of governance.
So we've covered a lot of ground. We went from the stark intensity of, 900 troops reportedly lost in one day, compounded over 44 months, into this staggering total of over 1 million personnel, tens of thousands of tanks and vehicles gone. And then we zoomed out again to see how concurrently international bodies like the EU are rethinking membership rules, potentially to protect their own stability. While on the ground, administrations are reportedly using basic necessities like water supply for narrative management. It's all happening at once.
It really is. And all this brings up a critical, maybe sobering long-term question for you, the listener, to really mull over. Given this enormous, almost unbelievable scale of cumulative losses that are being reported across every category, personnel, tanks, artillery, logistics, even high-end missiles and naval assets, how will the process of post-conflict rebuilding, the economic recovery, how will that be fundamentally changed by this? The sheer volume of material destruction and human loss detailed in these kinds of daily and cumulative reports, it suggests that the immediate cost, the billions spent during the conflict, is just the down payment. The resulting depletion of resources, human capital, industrial base, infrastructure that's going to shape regional economies and impose burdens for potentially decades to come. It's an economic injury that will likely far outlast the fighting itself.
That shift in thinking from immediate military cost to long-term economic and resource injury, that's a really powerful and frankly crucial perspective. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into these latest figures and the surrounding strategic context. We'll see you next time.